Varahopanishad. Varaha Upanishad. Varaha Upanishad is part of the Krishna Yajurveda and it has 5 chapters. The first chapter contains 17 mantras. The second one has 83 mantras. The third chapter has 30. The fourth one 44 mantras. And the fifth chapter contains 77 mantras. So in total, the entire Upanishad contains 251 mantras distributed in the 5 chapters. The first chapter opens with Ribhu Maharshi performing tapasya for 12 years and blessed with the presence of the Sri Mahavishnu in the Varaha Avatara. So Varaha Avatara, Mahavishnu appears to Ribhu Maharshi in Varaha Murti, and then the Ribhu Maharshi raises questions, asks questions, and Sri Mahavishnu in Varaha pose gives the answers, descriptions, explanations. This is the crux of the entire Upanishad's beginning. The first chapter contains the description of the importance of the entire body and the material world and explains the 24 tattvas, then the 36 tattvas, and then the 60 tattvas, that is making about totally 90 tattvas. So, Chaturvimshati tattvani, Shatrimshat tattvani, and then the last one is the Shannavati, that is 96. The total comes to 96 tattvas. What are the 24 tattvas which constitute, which makes the body or the materials? Beautifully, the Sri Mahavishnu explains, the Upanishad puts it, the 5 Jnanendriyas, the 5 Karmendriyas, the Pancha Pranas, then the Pancha Tanmatras, and the Mana Buddhi Ahankara Chitta. This is the 24 tattvas. The 5 Jnanendriyas, the 5 Karmendriyas, the 5 Pranas, Pancha Pranas, and the Pancha Tanmatras. Shabda, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, Sparsha, and Manobuddhyahankara Chitta. This constitutes the 24. Then, in addition to this, the Pancha Bhutas, Prithivyapas Tejo Vayurakashaha, and the 3 avasthas, Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti avasthas, and the Sukshma, Karana, and the Sthula Shariras. All those put together will be the 36. Then 6 varieties of existence. After a person is born, the changes which happen, that is the Jayate, Vardhate, then the 6 Urmis, then 6 sheets, Then the 6 enemies, Shad Ripus, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsaras. Then 3 gunas, Sattva guna, Raja guna, Tapo guna, Tamo guna. Then the 3 karmas, Prarabdha karma, Sanchita karma. And then the 5 important dimensions of the volition, decisions. Then the importance of the 4 cardinal points: Mudita, Karuna, Maitri, Upeksha, which form the 4. Sankalpa, Adhyavasayascha, Abhimano, Avadharanaha. And putting all this complete together is the list of 96. The Varaha Upanishad, Sri Mahavishnu tells to Ribhu Maharshi, unless one is conversant and aware of all these 96 tattvas, their importance and activities and their fueling force, it will be very difficult to understand the practices of the yoga. So this is a basic information and the knowledge is needed for the practice of the yoga. And then the Upanishad explains the 2nd chapter, describes about the sadhana chatushtayam, viveka, vairagya, shamadhi, shakta, sampatti, and the mumukshattam, viveka, a discrimination between what is permanent and what is temporary. The temporal, shashwata and ashashwata. What is shashwatam in this world and what is ashashwatam in this world? What is temporary in nature and what is the permanent in the nature? That discrimination is called as the Viveka, Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. Then Vairagyam. Then the Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha and the Samadhanaha. Then the Mumukshattam, a desire to be free. These 4 sadhana chatushtaya were in detail described in this Varaha Upanishad, and also we find the same description elaborately in the Viveka Chudamani by Adi Shankaracharya. Then the 2nd chapter also talks about the Atma, Anatma, Jivatma, Paramatma, the temporariness of this world, the non-importance of this temporal world, the material world, what we feel, what we think, most important in this world, how they are not important, what we feel, unknown, not experienced, the underflowing, the inner contents of ourself, which we are not exposed, which are important. The Atma, Anatma, Jivatma and the Paramatma. And not knowing the Paramatma and not knowing the Shashvatatvam and clinging on to these material temporary things which the Upanishad said because of the Ajnana. And once this Ajnana is removed, when the Jnana rises or when the Jnana comes in, the Ajnana goes. Like when the sun rises, the darkness is gone. When the light is lit, the darkness is gone. And the Upanishad explains beautifully that this can be achieved by Nadanusandhana, is the only method, that is the only path, that is the only technique, that is the only method which he can make a person jnani, or to understand what is temporary and what is permanent. And that delusion can be removed by the practice of Nadanusandhana. And that Nadanusandhana practice with the chanting of the Om, Akara, Ukara, Makara, and feeling the stages of Akara, stages of Makara, stages of the Ukara, then the stages of the Ardhamatra. And the Upanishad compares it with the Jagrata, Swapna, Shushupti, Turiya and Turiyatita level. And in each, while chanting each syllable, each sound, when each shabda, the nada is rising, the para level, Pashyanti level, Madhyama level, and the Vaikhari level are to be experienced, are to be felt, then the Nadanusandhana makes a person, takes a person, lifts a person, and stabilizes him in the Samadhi level. In the entire 75 to 83, about 8 to 9 mantras of the second chapter describes it. The third chapter is completely a beautiful technique explained as the Bhakti. Seeing everything as Ishvara Sarupam. The whole world is a manifestation, is an expression, is a symbol of Ishvara. And the devotion, worshipping with that feeling, is the Bhakti. The entire third chapter of the Varaha Upanishad is completely dedicated to Bhakti. And Bhakti as a tool. And how this Bhakti lifts a person. And what is the cause for all the difficulties and the problems. Varaha Upanishad, the third chapter, beautifully describes Chitta is the Karana for the Janma and Marana. For the birth and death, it is the Chitta which is cause. For the birth of any thought, but the birth of any sankalpa, for any decision, any idea, any emotion, for everything which is born, Chitta is the cause. And for everything which dies, eliminates, deletes, vanishes, it is the Chitta which is responsible. So Chitta Niyantrana is an important dimension. And the example is given beautifully. The sun reflects in the water, and if the water is distracted and disturbed, we feel or we see, we experience the sun also disturbed. The image of the sun gets ruffled. If the reflective medium, the water, gets ruffled, but we feel the sun's image is ruffled, but we experience and feel, we say sun is ruffled. This ajnana has to go. Whether the image is ruffled, whether the water is ruffled, but the source of the reflection, the source, the basic source which is reflecting the sun never gets ruffled. This is how the third chapter gets described, explains the importance of Nadanasandhana and the Bhakti. Further, the Upanishad explains the fourth chapter. About the fourth chapter has two portions, the Brahmana portion and the Mantra portion. And the Brahmana and the Mantra portions explain beautifully about the Sapta Jnana Bhumikas, the 7 stages of the knowledge, the 7 stages of the experience of knowledge, the 7 stages of rising of the consciousness, and the Sapta Bhumikas. We find a beautiful description of the Sapta Bhumikas in the Yoga Vasishtha also. And the Sapta Bhumikas are Subhecha is the Prathamaha. Then Vicharana Dvitiyaha. Tanumanasi is the third one, Tritiya. Sattvapatti is the Chaturthaha. Asamshaktihi is the Panchamaha. Padartha Bhavana is the Shashti. And Turiyaha is the Saptama. Jnana Bhumika Shubhecha Syat Prathama Samudirita. Vicharana Dvitiya Turiya Tanumanasi Sattvapattis Chaturthi Syat Tato Asamsakti Namikaha Padartha Bhavana Shashti Saptami Turiyaga Saptama. That is how all the 7 Jnana Bhumikas have been named, explained. What is Subhecha? A good decision, which provokes a person to be free from all the attachments. That is a good Ichha, Shubha Ichha it is. Similarly, Vicharana, a thoughtfulness to change and to alter our lifestyles. Tanumanasi, the bondages has to be reduced, reducing the attachments, slowing down the process of a deep attachment. Tanu Manasi, the mind is slowed down. Sattvapatti, enhancing the Sattva Guna. Asansaktihi, developing a sense of displeasure. Padartha Bhavana, feeling the real nature of anything which we see and which we come into touch and contact. The reality of every Padartha, the reality of every material we come in touch. The real matter, Padartha Bhavana, and having a Bhavana on that. And this leads a person to Turiya Sthitihi. This is how all the Sapta Bhumikas have been explained. And Omkara makes a person to realize, supports, helps for a person to attain that state of Turiya Sthiti, Turiyak Sthitihi, and this chanting of the Omkara Japaha, practicing of Omkara Japa, Akara, Ukara, Makara, and Ardhamatraha, Jagrata, Sapna, Sushupti, Turiya and Turiyatita levels. That is how Omkara is the Mula Mantraha. It is a Mula for the entire existence. The greatness, the grandeur of Omkara Japa, the greatness and the grandeur of Omkara chanting is explained beautifully in the 4th chapter, how it enhances a person's knowledge of the Atma, the knowledge of one's real self, the knowledge of one's own real constituent substance, the knowledge of my real nature. By that, one can detach from the unreal. One can detach from the temporary nature. One can detach from clinging to things with which we are continue to hop on. And the 5th chapter is a brilliant explanation of the entire body. And the Upanishad, the Varaha Upanishad, Sri Mahavishnu, explains what is the Shwasa Sankhya. What is the Sankhya of the Shwasa, the number of breaths we take. The Varaha Upanishad, the 5th chapter, the 3rd mantra, gives a brilliant Sahasranyeka Vimshatihi Shatchatanyadhikanyatra Sahasranyeka Vimshatihi Ahoratravahaihi Shwasar Vayu Mandaladha means 21,600 is the number of breaths which we take ahoratraha in a day and night, which we may say the 24 hours. In this 24 hours, our breath rate is, our entire number of breaths is 21,600, which is very simple and easy. There are 21,600 minutes in a day, 24 hours into 60 minutes. In this 21,600 breaths when we take, it comes to around 15 breaths in a minute. So this 24 hours multiplied by 60 minutes and divided with 21,600, it comes to 15 breaths in minute. So normally a human being inhales and exhales 15 times in a minute. How beautifully the Varaha Upanishad defines, measures. And as all of us are aware, the modern science, the modern method of measuring the breath rate confirms it. And if we can reduce this breath rate from 15 to 10 to 5, that is the highest dimension of the pranayama practice. The Varaha Upanishad explains beautifully that this slowing down the breath speed, the number of breaths in ahoratraha, Shwasa Sankhya, reduction is the path, is the method for the Turiyag level. And for that, the Upanishad explains Uddiyana Bandha and Mula Bandha practice. Practicing of Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha and the Jalandhara Bandha. And this practice as a Vihanga Marga and the Pipilaka Marga, practicing slowly and practicing at a speed. If it is practiced slowly, the progress is faster. Practicing at the Pipilika style, progress will be at the Vihanga level. Vihanga is a bird. For a bird to go to one place to the other, it can just fly. For a Pipilika, for an ant to move from one place to the other place, The time taken by the pipilaka, an ant, takes longer time. A bird can fly at a quickly. So practicing at a slow level enhances the progress. It also means there are two ways of practice. It also means two ways of progress in the yoga. Various interpretations and understandings is possible and it is there. And the Upanishad, the Varaha Upanishad gives Ashtanga Yoga. And this Ashtanga Yoga in the Vihanga Marga and Pipilika Marga. And the Ashtanga Yoga of the Varaha Upanishad, 5th chapter, 11th mantra to the 20th mantra tallies with the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, Ashtanga Yoga, Yamanayamathana Pranayama Pratyahara Dharana Dhyana Samadhyana. Same is repeated. What is there in the Varaha Upanishad synchronizes with the Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. Then the Upanishad explains each one. Brilliantly it explains. And at the end, Varaha Upanishad presents Samputa Yoga. Samputa Yoga. Samputa Yoga is practically practicing Mula Bandha and Jalandhara Bandha at the same time. And by practicing Mula Bandha and Jalandhara Bandha, all the nadis, the 14 nadis are locked up, and then the entire prana pravaha gets directed towards the Sahasrara Chakra, rising the energy from the Mooladhara. And this Samputa Yoga, practice of Mula Bandha and Jalandhara Bandha, and holding the breath, Kevala Kumbhaka. This combination of three, Mula Bandha, Jalandhara Bandha, and the Kevala Kumbhaka, is the Samputa Yoga. Samputa is the combination, the total. Samputi it is. And that is how Varaha Upanishad concludes by saying, this is the practice which gives the final result. And it explains, Etad Vidya Pathana Vedanayoho Phalam. The final result comes as the Nishpatti Bhumikaha. Nishpattihi Turiyagaha Jivan Muktaha is the result and experience, and one gets established in the state of Samadhi. So Varaha Upanishad presents Samputa Yoga and practice of these three bandhas, bandhatrayaha, and in the bandhatrayaha prescribing the two, the Mula and the Jalandhara. Mula Bandha is the lowest one and Jalandhara Bandha is the top. And practicing both at a time, and the experience of freedom from all Jivatattva, from all samsaraha, from all chitta chanchala, and one gets an experience of Jivan Mukta Bhavana. That is how Varaha Upanishad emphasizes the importance of the practice of Nadanusandhana, practice of the pranayama, practice of the Samputa Yoga, and explaining that the entire essence of the yoga practice is Jivan Muktaha it is. And that level where we experience our real, true nature of ourself, freeing our feeling, freeing our attachment to what is not important, ashashvatam. That is how the Varaha Upanishad presented the sadhana chatushtayam, sapta bhumikas. And with this practices, Varaha Upanishad concludes its teaching, Sri Mahavishnu, teaching of this yoga to Ribhu Rishihi. Let us conclude here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.